It's interesting to see that you touch upon a couple of ingredients which are already there. This idea of the Eurasian as some sort of in-between space, celebrating its existence as in-between space between Flanders, the Francophone world, and the Rhineland. Never been part of the one or the other, always this mixing of boundaries. And there is this idea of that in that mixing of languages and styles, there is some excitement to be discovered and some energy to be discovered. And that in a certain sense, is filling something of a regional narrative. But your idea is that we need such a narrative for today's spatial planning.
It seems to me that that is the core question, because there is not an economic narrative which can generate everything else. Okay. The cultural narrative has to be very, very strong.
Are there immediate pressing questions people would like to ask? Any pressing comments from our panel? This microphone, am I doing this? Okay. Luc, your first impression?
A nice story, but I think it is something about actors in this region.
You have to
actors in this region within an institutional setting. Institutional settings is, of course, formal, informal, how you do things. And I'm not so sure that this is an intermediate region. It has got, for me, not Aachen, but Hasselt, with its surroundings, has got me a very specific core language. That's, I think, I'm convinced, the language of the Kempen. And there's a specific language in the sand of this area in the Euro Delta. And when you look at the economic development has always not been in the Kempen. Only coal was here somewhere, but it was always in the surroundings of the Kempen. So it never had something. But at this moment, there are possibilities. I'm very sure that there are possibilities to have a specific, not only a cultural agenda of the Kempen, but also an economic agenda of research and development. Research and development and university, innovative research. That's Hasselt, sea mine, I think. It's when you look at the research and development campuses for new energy, for instance, there's solar energy in Eindhoven, there's bioenergy in Hasselt, and there's wind energy in the middle near Lommel, and there's nuclear energy research at SCKSN in Lommel. So you have got here in 30-40 kilometers the finest innovation on new energy. That could be an agenda. Also, but it's not so specifically a region. It's another region, but of which Hasselt is part of. So have you researched that idea?
No, I haven't researched. As I said, I mean, my approach is very clearly a cultural approach. I know of I think the universities are, as centers of excellence, as centers of knowledge, are absolutely the core to the idea that there could be more than a sort of passing link between different cities, areas in this larger field. That's also what I, in fact, specifically stated with my drawing. Whether that is one particular aspect of technological research, or actually there are also other fields where, for example, the creative faculties in sea mine in Eindhoven, Maastricht and Aachen. Yeah, that's another field. But of course, in order to really use that potential, it has to experience itself as a concentration of that kind of excellence, because otherwise you never get a cluster. And I guess, or that's my proposal, in order to perceive yourself as a concentration, as a cluster, you have to perceive yourself in cultural terms first. Because there is, as you say, there is not very, very strong economic, not even infrastructural connection at the moment.
But that I'm not so sure about. I think there is incoming, and there. I think
but what
there,
I mean by
there is a need to combine culture and economic over here.
Mm-hmm.
To have a cultural program based, you could have a cultural program based on energy, new energy.
But there is so behind this there is the issue of scale, and there is the issue of layers, and there is the issue of connections. Yeah. We in the course of these three gatherings, we've been discussing landscape as a possible ingredient for defining the region. So there's also this notion of the Groenmetropole and the green landscape, even touching on your park idea, which links to the sort of old coal mine fields, which now have developed a new landscape on top of them, which is linking Noordrhein-Aachen via Heerlen, Sittard-Geleen to Genk, Beringen, which is now a sort of new sort of recreational, well, creative landscape developing there. There is this possible economic link. There is the ELAT agenda, which is an economic agenda linking Eindhoven to Leuven to Aachen. There is this historical core, you know, this history of an in-between region, which in a certain sense finds itself together in that in-between situation. So there are different layers there, which in a certain sense are also defining different scales. I think the challenge then is, how do you get from that sort of diversity to something which is...
I think that is what I learned from Löw, where she makes the point that you have to fictionalize these things. They do, and let's not forget that fictions are always constructed. It is possible to do that. And it seems to me that there's an interest to do that because each of these subregions isn't actually large enough, has not enough of a critical mass to find itself even itself attractive. You know, I'm not even talking, you know, what's the external perception. I'm also talking the perception in the region itself. If there's a feeling in Belgian Limburg, for example, that it's somewhat on the margin of the national state, whether that's correct or not, but there is that feeling, then the constructing that narrative could actually be one aspect of finding a new perspective, realizing that it's from here, it shouldn't take longer to get to Cologne than it takes to Brussels, for example. Now, that is a formidable benefit. That's a formidable advantage of this area.
Yes, there is there are microphones on the side of the... Oh, the microphone is coming to you.
Isn't it a little bit old-fashioned when we make nowadays planning maps for only Flanders and not see it as a more integrated thing where we discuss about Brussels, but it's the most important economic factor also for Limburg. It's nearby, and we don't see anything on the green map saying something about the relationship with our capital, and I don't find even anything about the relationship with Liège, which is in itself very attractive and perhaps the most important city in the region, and we don't succeed to open the discussion about this most fundamental thing in this region. We can't open this discussion. I found it a little bit horrible. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I clearly drew the map of this area in between the two poles of Brussels and Cologne. So that would suggest that, you know, there's a relationship with Brussels simply because it is an economic center. I think the... Yeah, I don't know what hearts are, but I mean, yes, it's clearly all the roads go there. Yeah, but I mean that is in. I know. That is of course because that is so evident. I think it's very interesting to also see that there are other development directions, which are.
Too much exercise at the edge of things and not and the really important things to say. It's more important, I think, to discuss the relationship with big cities around us, with Liège and Brussels, more than anything else. Is it
Well, I mean, that must be a real misunderstanding, because that is exactly what I'm proposing. That is exactly what I'm proposing. I'm saying this area is in between other big centers. It's halfway Cologne, Brussels.
to make good connections with Liège, from Hasselt to Liège, or from Hasselt to
Well,
even from Hasselt to
simply,
Brussels,
okay, that's of course. I just think if you look at the strong European regions, then you could say that Brussels and Cologne are sort of regions of a sort of certain critical mass. I'm not denying that Liège is a very interesting partner, local partner, but it's obviously not of the same order. Well,
let's wait. We'll not be able to finish that discussion now, but
Yeah.
it's definitely. I mean, this is about interdependencies. Yes,
Yeah.
and this is about which interdependencies count, which don't count, or which are becoming important, with the sort of becoming more fluid of these national boundaries. Other relationships are becoming more important again, and that's where this region is, in a certain sense, trying to discover itself. There were two, just brief ones, yeah, because may I take the one in the back? Yeah, sure, go ahead. There's a microphone. You have to.
Please come to the microphone.
Yeah, because this is also. For the cameras also, etc., etc. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Matti Wirth. I'm a research associate at EVTR Aachen, and I liked your idea talking about the region, declaring it as a parkland, and I just wanted to point out that there is actually a regional project which has this idea. Probably most people in the audience know that since about 2001. Which is called the Three Countries Park, and that actually uses, I mean, also the topic of the last event, landscape as a framework. So I think that initiative and the project we are working on right now, related to that initiative, I think it goes very well along with your sketch we had over there. But it's rather starting off from the landscape. But by defining that landscape, those ideas you have for a polycentric development that could perfectly tie in. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay.